What's going on, guys? It's Aston Edmonds with Health and Wellness. I just finished up a week-long deload. So I thought now is probably the best time as any to go ahead and make this video dedicated to teaching you everything that you need to know about a deload week. So what is a deload week? How do you know when you need to take one? And how you can actually build this into your training program to maximize your results. So first things first, what is a deload? A deload is basically a programmed in rest week, but instead of just taking the whole week off, you go in and you do a certain percentage of what you normally do. So it's not a complete week off from the gym, but you go in and it's like an active rest week. It's going to allow you to rebuild all your muscles that have been broken down over the course of the past training cycle and just come back stronger. Now, why would you want to take a deload when you can just take a week off? So a lot of people will just take a week completely off from the gym, lounge around the house, and this isn't really the best for a couple reasons. The biggest one is whenever somebody comes back, they lose strength. They're not performing the movements they're used to performing, so when they come back, they've lost some neural efficiency, the central nervous system connecting to that motor pattern that you're used to doing so much, and you almost have to relearn the movement, within the first week or two. Also, since you're not doing anything, you're not stimulating your muscles at all, you can lose a little bit of muscle by doing this, and then also subsequently you can lose strength as well. So the best example of the benefit of a deload is going to be shown by this graph that I'm going to put on the screen now. Now this graph represents what happens during one session of training. So you start off, with a weight that you can handle for 10 reps, and then the next set you can only get 8 reps. And this is the initial performance loss. And then of course, then you rest, recuperate, and come back stronger. Now, if we apply this same graph over a long period of time, for instance, the training cycle, what will happen is you'll start off strong, and as you build up fatigue over the course of the training cycle, your performance might drop. So when people are doing more work than their body can recover from, their performance is going to drop. That's why sometimes you go in the gym and you can't lift as much weight or you can't do as much work as you're used to doing, and that's because you're suffering this little bit of performance loss. Now, the deload week, in this case, represents our rest day or the time off from the gym. So it goes up, you have your performance loss, we deload, and then we come back bigger, stronger, faster. So it's the same concept of a rest day, but on a much larger scale. It's periodized into your program to make sure that you're always fully recovered and that you can continue to make progress, because if you stay in that performance loss for too long, or that's actually called overreaching, if you stay in that overreaching phase too long, you're actually going to regress and also just hurt your overall long-term progress. Alright, so what are some signs that you need a deload? The first one is going to be prolonged performance loss. Now, when I say prolonged, that's because some days you'll go in the gym and you'll just be weaker than other days. Everybody has bad days, but that's not necessarily a sign that you should deload. If you're going in the gym and a week to 2 weeks straight, you're not lifting as much weight as you normally do, that can be a sign. Also, waking up feeling like you've been hit by a bus, just aching everywhere, elbows, knees, all your joints are hurting. When you come home from the gym, some people feel refreshed, but if you come home after your workout and all you feel like doing is just sleeping for eternity, these can all be signs that you're in that overreaching phase and that you need to deload soon. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say something a little controversial, and that is most people aren't going to work hard enough in the gym to actually need a deload. So if you're going in there and you're just, giving half effort every day, or maybe some days you put in a lot of effort, you're just not hitting it hard every single day. You miss a couple days here and there, things come up, you have a party to go to, so you just take a couple days off, go do that. You're probably not going to need a deload. If everything else isn't perfect, if you're not training hard enough, then you probably actually won't even need a deload. So if you're taking a week off for a vacation or a couple days off for vacation, you're probably not going to need a deload. That is going to be sufficient rest for what you're doing. Now we need to talk about how often you should deload. This is really going to depend on the person and the type of training, and of course, like we mentioned before, how hard the person is working in the gym. Some people will take a deload every 4th week, so 3 weeks on, 1 week deload. That to me seems a little much, and I don't really think you can accumulate or actually even go into an overreaching phase in that time period. Now, once every 6 months, if you're training hard, that's going to be way too long, and it can actually lead to injury. And that brings me to another quick point, that a deload also serves to prevent injury, because if you stay in that overreaching phase too long, you will run the risk of injury. So back to how often you should take it. Really, you're just going to have to base it off of your own training when you feel that you need it. So once again, once your performance starts to dip for a week or two and you just start to feel really beat down and ready, you kind of have a dip in motivation as well as performance, this is going to be the time to take your deload. Now, there are a couple ways of going about it. I'll mention a couple and then I'll tell you the one that I recommend and it's worked best for me in the past. So basically, you want to come in and do a percentage of the work that you normally do. And a couple ways to do it. Some people will come in, keep the weights and the reps the exact same, but they'll cut some sets out. So if they normally do 3 sets of an exercise, they just do 1 or 2 sets. Keep the weight the same, reps the same, just cut back on the overall volume. Now that's a fine way of going about it, but I believe a deload week should not only rest your body, but also rest your central nervous system. So the way I go about doing it is I keep the volume the exact same, so same number of reps, same number of sets, but I do 70% of the weight, and this makes it very easy to do. So for instance, if I'm going in and I'm doing 100 pounds on an exercise for 3 sets of 10, I'm going to come in and do 70 pounds for 3 sets of 10. Now the whole objective of a deload week is to never get anywhere close to muscular failure. So now 70% kind of sounds like a high percentage, but when you actually go in there and move the weight, 70% feels like nothing. For instance, my working sets like on bench press will be up in the low 200 pound range, but my deload workout was only 135 pounds. So like I mentioned before, you don't want to get anywhere close to muscular failure. So if you are doing 70% and it feels heavy, you feel like you're actually taxing yourself, then I would cut this set a couple reps short or lower the weight, because you don't want to overtax yourself. You should basically feel like you're just going in the gym and just going through the motions, not actually doing any work. So one thing that I found is, say when you do a set, of like bicep curls, you might do 5 and then pause, and then 3 and then pause, and then squeak out 1 more rep. And so maybe overall you've done 10 reps, and so then when you take 70% of that 10 reps and then do 10 reps with that, it's proportionally a little bit harder because you're not stopping. So I would say try to do your exercises in the same cadence, the same everything that you normally do, but just 70%. And if you don't want to do that, for instance, if you normally do a little pause and then keep going, then I would lower the weight and just do it all the way through. That way you can keep everything constant. I'm not sure if that even made any sense. Alright, 2 things left to talk about. The first one is going to be diet. How should you adjust your diet on a deload week? So if you're at maintenance level calories, I probably wouldn't do anything with your calories, raise or lower. I would keep them the exact same, and you'll use the little extra calories because you're not burning as many. You'll use the extra to help rebuild, help recover. Now, if you're dieting, I would actually recommend raising them a little bit, probably 200 calories. That way you can take a little break from your diet and help rebuild yourself and prepare you for the oncoming weeks of your diet. Now, if you're bulking, you're already in a calorie surplus, but you're not going to be expending as much energy. So I recommend lowering your calories by 1 to 200 or adding in some cardio. That way you don't put on too much weight during this deload week. You still want to remain in a surplus because that's going to help you repair and recover even faster. Now, the last thing to note before we go is caffeine intake. A lot of us take pre-workouts. Now, you're not working hard enough on a deload to require any caffeine to be able to get the job done. So I would take this opportunity to drop all caffeine if possible. That way you can resensitize your body, and when you come back, you'll need less of it. So a lot of us will start off with 1 scoop of pre-workout, then over time we'll build up to 3 scoops. Now if you take a week off, you'll resensitize your body to caffeine and you can come back and only take 1 scoop again, hopefully. But that's the end of the video. If you guys have any more questions or anything was unclear, because sometimes I can kind of ramble on, let me know in the comment section down below. But if this helped you, you enjoyed it, anything at all, please share and thumbs up this video. It really helps the channel grow, really motivates me to make more content. So until next time, thank you guys for watching and have a great day.